I want to begin my short remarks by explaining where the title of my sermon came from. It's a joke. There was a concert violinist lost in New York City and late for his gig. And he saw a cabbie parked by the side of the road, and he leaned over and he said, "Hey, buddy, do you know how to get to Carnegie Hall?" And the cabbie looked at him and said, "Practice, practice, practice." Oh, don't applaud for that. Practice, practice, practice. That is what the young men and women of this church have been doing. I have heard since maybe in September they have been practicing. I have seen them up on this stage running their lines, singing their songs. Practice, practice, practice. We do this kind of practice over and over again so that we don't have to think about things, so that what is being learned becomes second nature. You become less conscious of it and it becomes unconscious. Practice, practice, practice. It's easy to do things. You can make it look easy if you have practiced. Now, I think there are probably out in this congregation just a few people who have habits they would like to change. I don't want a show of hands. I'm making an informed guess. I suspect we all have ways of being, ways of reacting that we would like to alter. Things that we have learned out of bad habit or no habit, sins even that have come upon us that are just ways that we are. The way that we reform these things, the way we change those habits, we are told by psychologists and by self-help books too, is to practice. In fact, some people say that if you can do a new thing for 20 days in a row, it becomes a habit. And once it is a habit, it is easier to do the thing than not do the thing. You can create a better habit in 20 days, or so I have been told. Now, I've also been told that to achieve mastery in anything requires 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours. 20 days seems a lot easier than 10,000 hours. But even with that, I look out at this congregation and I am aware that there are people who have mastered things. People who have been doctors or surgeons, lawyers or teachers. People who have done 10,000 hours of service. People who have done 10,000 hours of prayer. Some of us have become masters at some amazing things, but it's always about practice, practice, practice. In fact, nobody ever learns things after doing it just once. I was in San Diego a couple weeks ago at the American Academy of Religion meeting, and I heard a fascinating paper about the French philosopher René Girard. And what Girard contributed to the field of philosophy was in the field of epistemology and ethical systems. Those are big words, but it's a simple idea that Girard came up with. He believed that human development occurs initially in infants through a process of observational mimicry. You've heard that children aren't listening to you, they're watching you. Infants and small children observe, and they're watching to see what's going on, and they learn to mimic. They practice copying what their parents are doing. Girard believed that infants develop not just habits of being, but they fundamentally acquire their identity, who they are, how they're going to be in the world by watching what the adults around them are doing. Girard coined the term mimetic desire because babies and children learn how to behave in certain ways so that they can get what they want and what they need. Our attention, our love, even food and water. Mimetic desire. Girard also went a step further. He believed that that was actually the source of original sin. Not that we're born that way, but because of the way we develop as people, we learn from the beginning to be self-centered and worry about ourselves. And so he also believed that there's a role for religion, for faith in the development of people, because we had to relearn, unlearn the things that were almost hardwired within us. We come into this world needing so much, being so self-centered. It is only through learning and growing and maturing that we learn how to focus on other people. Practice, practice, practice. If we are going to be Christians, if we are going to do this radical thing that Jesus started so long ago, it's not going to happen overnight. It doesn't happen with our baptism. It doesn't happen with our confirmation. Drew and I can tell you it doesn't even happen when they ordain you. It is a struggle and a work of every day. Every day we rise up with a fresh opportunity to try and be the people that God made us to be. Not the people that we became in infancy, but the people that we mean to be in life. Christian people with Christ at our center who open their hand to those in need and serve others. It's not the work of a day. It's not the work of a moment. It's not even something you can establish in 20 days. I would say it takes even more than 10,000 hours. We have to practice this faith every day so that at the end of our lives we have learned it by heart and we can present to God a heart that is full of hope and love. It's what we do in this place. It's what our children are going to do for us this morning. They are going to rehearse with us the stories that we know, the tale that we tell ourselves every year at this time, the story of God's love, so great, so powerful that it came down in human form. And we rehearse it every year, we practice it every year, because when we go out those doors, that's when we perform it. Practice, practice, practice. It's not just how you get to Carnegie Hall, it's how you get to God. Amen.